It's horrible. It's horrible what happened to Israel. It's horrible what happened to those hostages. It can never, ever happen again. It can never happen again. And I think under Donald Trump's watch, it never will.
How did it feel like for you to see those images, to watch the hostages being released, reunited with their families?
It made me feel beyond proud, beyond proud. And I think that tells you all you need to know about, peace through strength. They knew they better not mess around. They knew they better not mess around. And again, I believe only Donald Trump could. So I was a proud son. And again, despite what they tried to do to us, despite the fact that they tried to imprison us, despite the fact that they tried to take away our company, despite the fact that they tried to bankrupt us, it's all worth it. When you see those loved ones embrace, it all became worth it.
Eric Trump is the son of President Trump and the executive vice president of the Trump Organization. The day after the elections, his father asked him to run Trump Organization, and he immediately said yes. Eric is one of the closest people to the president. In his new book, Under Siege, Eric Trump shares his point of view, what happened after his father left the White House and before his return to it. He's been there every step of the way. He joins Channel 13 and the Kraus Report for a special interview, talking about the day the phone stopped ringing, the meaning of loyalty and friendship, and of course, we talked about the Middle East deal that brought the hostages home, his father's visit to Israel, and the Nobel Peace Prize. At the very end of our conversation, I asked him, will we see Trump's business expand to Israel? The answer is quite surprising. Eric Trump, thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be on.
So I just finished reading your new book. It's fascinating, very interesting. And I wanted to ask you, when did you understand that you want to write this book? Because it started a while ago.
Yeah, it was about 2 years ago that I decided to write the book. It was long before Butler, it was long before anything else. And, I want to tell the story. I want to tell the story about what they were trying to do to us legally in the United States. I mean, between the dirty dossiers, the Russia hoax, the 91 indictments against our family, the gag orders, taking us off of all the social media platforms, taking us off of Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and YouTube, raiding our homes, raiding Mar-a-Lago, raiding Melania's closet, raiding Barron's room, coming after me. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history for never doing anything wrong. I didn't have so much as a speeding ticket. And they came after us relentlessly. They came after our company. They leaked our tax returns. They did everything they possibly could. They impeached my father the first time. They impeached him the second time. They went after the Supreme Court justices. And I had to tell that story. And that's why I called it Under Siege, right? They were doing everything they could to silence our voice, to gag order us, to bankrupt us, and to throw us all in prison for doing nothing wrong. And then right as I'm, starting to write the book, they tried to kill my father. They tried to kill him in Butler, Pennsylvania, and everybody in the entire world saw what happened there. And then they tried to kill him 8 weeks later at his golf course in West Palm Beach, Florida, right? And they wanted to do anything they could. But the siege wasn't just against our family. It was against the American people. It was against the Make America Great Again movement. They were doing the same thing to conservatives all across our country. They were stripping their voice. They were stripping their First Amendment right. They were weaponizing the IRS against, religious institutions. They were coming after all of us. And honestly, it's the reason it became the #1 best-selling book. I mean, this is the #1 best-selling book in the country right now. It's not even close. It's way ahead of Kamala. It's way ahead of everything else.
I see the charts every day. It is #1.
It's run out of books.
Breaking records, by the way.
Over and over and over on Amazon. Amazon can't keep enough books in stock. It's unbelievable, let alone the other platforms, because this country is pissed off. They're pissed off what they tried to do to my father. And the greatest news, we came back and we did it all again, and we won. And our country is better for it, and Israel is better for it, and religion is better for it, and we have peace in the Middle East, and we have the hostages back. We have an economy that's booming. We're respected around the world again. And so, the siege, it was all worth it. It was all worth it. Forget about the $400 million it costs us. Forget about the fact that they tried to throw us in jail, and forget about us for eternity. They wanted us off that stage. No different than they wanted Charlie Kirk off that stage. They wanted us all off that stage, and we won. And we're stronger now than ever before, and the world is better for it.
Do you remember those moments in Butler, Pennsylvania, when you were not sure that your father is alive?
Yeah, I remember them well. I had my 4-year-old daughter and I had my 6-year-old son on my lap at the time, and I was watching the TV. I was actually working on an email, and I heard the shots, and the rest is history. And I remember that moment incredibly well. That's burned into my soul. I mean, I think we all thought he was dead at that moment, and thank God he wasn't. And And God had a big part of that. I mean, listen, the American flag, which was hanging right above his head, you probably remember the iconic shot, rolled up right after the shots like a perfect angel. I mean, right on above it looked like a perfect angel made out of the American flag. And you better believe, God was watching down. He turned his head at the last moment, and thank God he did. And I really do believe God spared him. And then, you look at the peace he's bringing all around the world. And it's not just obviously in the Middle East where, it's not just in Israel, and it's not just that conflict, as incredible as that is. And that's the hardest of all, just based on, thousands of years of tension and distrust and dislike and everything else, right? I mean, look what he did between India and Pakistan. Look what he did with Thailand. Look at all these conflicts that he's stopped all around the world. He's saving people every day, and look how hard he's working to save, obviously, to stop this Russia Ukraine conflict. I really believe that God guided him here, and I really believe that he had a higher purpose, and that's why he's there today, and that's why he's doing the great things he's doing today.
Some of his opponents try to claim that he will create new wars, that he will use the American nuclear weapon. But from the moment he got into office, even before that, he promised, I'm a peacemaker. I want to do peace deals. And this very recent peace deal between Israel and Gaza is unimaginable, getting all the hostages out. I mean, people in Israel were shocked that night, so shocked that they went out to the streets and started dancing. It was the middle of the night. Can you please tell me a little bit about your feelings watching your father alongside his special envoys, Witkoff and Kushner, doing that seriously unimaginable?
Yeah, they did do the unimaginable. And, I used to hear from Hillary Clinton all the time, Donald Trump is unstable. He will bring us to war. He'll use the red button. He can't be trusted with that level of power. My father's the exact opposite. It's his attitude that actually keeps us out of wars, right? And by the way, make no mistake, my father wants the biggest military ever. He wants the strongest military ever. And if we ever have to go in, we're going to knock their heads off, right? And we'll do so quickly that they won't know what happened to them. But no, he doesn't want wars. And he doesn't want our young, brave men or anybody, sitting on hills in the middle of Afghanistan for 2 decades, getting mortared every single day. No, that's not the way that Donald Trump will fight a war. If he ever had to fight a war, and he doesn't want to fight a war, but if he ever had to fight a war, he's going to go in and be so decisive and be so brutal that it's over instantaneously. But he doesn't want conflict. He wants peace. He's the first president in American history that has not brought our nation into a conflict around the world. I mean, think about that, right? In fact, he's gotten us out of every conflict around the world. But at the same time, he's been incredibly tough. I mean, look at Soleimani, look at al-Baghdadi, right? He took both of those guys out in a decisive fashion. Look at obviously the Iranian strike. I mean, we went in there with the most sophisticated bombers in the world, and we blew the hell out of them with by the way, the great help of the Israeli people, who we absolutely adore. I think you obviously know who we love, but I mean, with alongside you and you guys were unbelievable in that fight. But you went in there, we took care of business, and we told them, hey, you can do this 2 ways. He was very honest with them, and he's always honest. You can do this 2 ways. You can do it the nice way, just disassemble all the nuclear facilities, and make sure we have all the intelligence and we can see exactly that they're no longer producing nuclear fuel, or we can do it the hard way. And they wouldn't do it the easy way. And so guess what? He went in there and he bombed the hell out of them, again, in conjunction with you guys and Netanyahu, and did an amazing job, and the world is safer for it. So it's not that he's not willing to act. He doesn't cower.
He's more than willing to act, but he wants to do it in the right way and only if it's necessary.
That's right.
So I know you wrote in the book that you called your father a day after the elections, and you told him that you're done with politics. But I will leave one last question at the end of this interview to ask you about politics, maybe about your future in politics, maybe about becoming a president one day, but I'll leave it to the end. I know you're in the private sector, but I do want to ask you, how did it feel like for you to see those images, to watch this footage of the hostages being released, reunited with their families? They were saved thanks to your father, the president, President Trump, thanks to the deal that he managed to achieve, convincing Hamas to release all the remaining 20 live hostages until the very last live hostage that was in captivity. How did it make you feel?
it made me feel beyond proud, beyond proud. Joe Biden could have never gotten that done. Hillary Clinton could have never gotten that done. My father was tough as hell. I mean, I think you know this. He was, he was tough as hell. And by the way, Netanyahu was tough as hell. And my father has so much respect for him. And they did it. But Joe Biden would never. Joe Biden would have been an impediment to the entire process. So, when you see them embracing their family members and but what struck me the most is there's a story told by one of the survivors where he said, the day that Donald Trump got elected, the treatment toward us changed instantaneously. They went from starving us, and all of a sudden we started getting some meals, right?
A lot of them told that.
I think that tells you all you need to know about, peace through strength. They knew they better not mess around. They knew they better not mess around. And again, I believe only Donald Trump could. So I was a proud son. And again, despite what they tried to do to us, despite the fact that they tried to imprison us, despite the fact that they tried to take away our company, despite the fact that they tried to bankrupt us, despite the fact that, again, the 112 subpoenas that I got, the most in American history, and I've never gotten a traffic ticket, it's all worth it. When you see those loved ones embrace, it all became worth it. And it's horrible. It's horrible what happened to Israel. It's horrible what happened to those hostages. It can never, ever happen again. It can never happen again. And I think under Donald Trump's watch, it never will.
By the way, I still think that he should get a Nobel Peace Prize for this achievement, and I think that this is still an option. There's still next year.
You know what's sad? You know what's sad about that whole thing? You have people on both sides of the aisle, and this does not happen in conflicts. Right? Here's what I can tell you. In World War II, Japan wasn't exactly thrilled with the outcome of the war, to put it mildly, right? In World War II, Germany wasn't exactly thrilled with the outcome of the war, right? Like in just about every conflict, you have a winner and you have a loser, right? Here, pretty much universally, everybody applauded the fact that we got to resolution. I mean, the Palestinians, obviously, the Israelis, across the board. I'm not saying that people don't have hurt feelings, but universally, people were commending obviously the resolution of this, and not just the two countries, but also globally. And they're all saying, give Donald Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. He deserves it. Then you look at India and Pakistan, where both the PM of Pakistan and Modi both say Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize because he literally kept us out of a war, which the PM of Pakistan said could have been a nuclear conflict, right? Because they're both nuclear superpowers. And then you look at again, Cambodia and that conflict, that almost broke out. Both said that Donald Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize. So you've got the biggest world leaders who are literally the ones on the receiving end of the telephone call whose sons and daughters would have been the ones at war. They were the ones in charge of the bloodshed, all saying that Donald Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize for bringing peace. And you've got some committee of 5 people in Oslo that don't give him the award. I mean, it is truly ironic. And you know what? We have a saying in this country, and I know this is not PC, so I apologize in advance.
Let's do it.
Everything that's woke turns to shit, right? We say that. Everything that goes woke turns to shit. And what's going to happen is you're going to have that happen with the Nobel Peace Prize. And that's sad because, honestly, the world deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. A world deserves to recognize good people for doing amazing things for humanity. My father did amazing things for humanity. He did great things for this world. There are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people alive right now because those wars did not start or because those wars ended before they spiraled absolutely out of control, right? And he deserves the Peace Prize, and they better give it to him. They better give it to him. Otherwise, what's going to happen is they're just going to fade into oblivion, no different than in America the Oscars did, the Emmys did, right? I mean, all these things that went woke, they just fizzled out. They're no longer relevant. And the same thing will happen to the Nobel Peace Prize, and that would be a tragedy for humanity.
By the way, did you get to see your sister, Ivanka, talk at the Hostage Square in Tel Aviv in front of hundreds of thousands?
I did. I saw that. But honestly, my favorite interview was my father's interview, right? It's something that only Donald Trump could have done. When he was speaking to all the parliament.
In the Knesset.
In the Knesset. It was very funny. He goes, my daughter, she loves Israel. Bibi, she converted. She's a Jew. She converted. Now, this was not exactly in the cards. Bibi, this was not in the cards, as you must understand. And everybody was laughing. I mean, the whole Knesset was laughing. Everybody in the U.S. was laughing. It was such a fun, real moment that just showed the love of Judaism, the love of Christianity, the love of America, the love of Israel, the partnership we have, that, the relationship that the two of them have. I mean, I can tell you, no world leader in history has ever given this impromptu. Come on, Bibi, you know this wasn't in the cards. I didn't think this was in the cards. But my sister, yeah, my daughter, she loves the great people of Israel, and so do I. And
beautiful moment.
It was so beautiful. But I have to say, I was over there, maybe a year ago, a year and a half ago, and the reception I got walking down the street. I mean,
people love you.
Oh my God, it was like you were like everybody knew you, everybody loved you. I remember this wonderful waitress one night at a place, a casual place that we went to eat, and she just came up and she gave me a hug. Like literally, I'd never met her before. She came up and gave me a hug, and just the love of the Trump family over there is incredible. The love of America is incredible. The partnership between the two nations is incredible. And again, I know we're meant to be talking about a book, and I know we're totally off topic, and I actually love the fact that we're off topic because everything that we've accomplished together as two of the greatest nations anywhere on earth, all have happened because we won this battle, right? And they didn't want us to win this battle. Hillary didn't want us to win this battle. The deep state in America did not want us to. The mainstream media in this country did not want us to win this battle, and we beat them all. And I'm so proud of that. And the world is a better place because of it.
And you're very popular in Israel, as you just mentioned. And your father, I know he's the #1 most popular leader in Israel, more than any other Israeli leader and any other global leader. And
so after the presidency, he could go over there and he could run the country for a couple of years. I mean,
why not? 2028, right?
Yeah, you guys could make some exceptions. You probably had to be born in Israel, but it's all right. They can give a little waiver or whatever.
Yeah, his daughter got converted, so I mean we can.
We can do
twist it a little bit. And in the book, you describe the moments when you realize that you just won. The leaders are starting to call. Can you tell me a little bit about that moment when you understand that your father is going to be the next president of the United States?
Well, I spent a lot of time in the book talking about the highs and lows of life, right? And there's many times over the course of life that the phones stop ringing. I talked about it in the early 90s when, my father was only, obviously in real estate, and you had crazy interest rates, and every developer was going bankrupt in the United States and, around the world. And, there were times where those phones stopped ringing, right? After 2020, the phones stopped ringing, and then sure enough, you find out who your real friends are. And that was the whole point of kind of that passage or that section. And then funny enough, all of a sudden we win again in 2024, and I've never gotten so many text messages in my life. The 2 days that I've gotten the most text messages, maybe 3. First, when we won in 2016, I got about 10,000 new friends all of a sudden. I mean, instantaneously in 5 minutes, all of a sudden I had 15,000 new friends. When my mom passed away, and that's to be expected. And then when we won again in 2024, all of a sudden I found out, hey, buddy, we were there with you all the time. I know how busy you were. That's why we haven't been in touch in the last 6 years.
We're besties.
But like, congratulations. We were there fighting in the trenches with you the entire time. You just didn't see us at all. Like, we just wanted to be quiet. We wanted to be respectful of your time. It's like, give me a break. Give me a break. I know exactly who you people are. And that's the same thing with world leaders. World leaders, all of a sudden, they got in shape. I mean, you look at Mexico. Mexico was literally sending every illegal immigrant through Mexico. They didn't care. They weren't stopping anybody. It was just a one-way ticket into the United States. All of a sudden, my father gets elected, and all of a sudden they start taking border security very, very seriously. The following day, because they know what it's going to mean for Mexico if they don't take border security, right? So it's amazing in life how people can do about faces instantaneously, depending on the situation of the moment. And I get into that in a lot of detail in the book.
You called your father a day after the elections, and you told him, I'm done with politics. But you're the type of guy, I think, that is never done with anything. You're very ambitious. You know the playground. You had an important role in the success of your father when he ran for president. Will we ever see you run for president?
So the first call was 33. He called me into his office saying, I want you to run Trump Organization. All right, we've got one of the greatest hospitality companies in the world. And I said I'd be honored. And I never left that stage. I mean, I went down that escalator with him, and I never left that stage. In the darkest moments, I never left that stage. In the courtrooms, I never left that stage. I was next to him the entire time. And that's said to very, very, very few people. I was there every single second of the entire roller coaster, and it was a hell of a roller coaster. And I'll never forget when we won on November 5th, really early in the morning on November 6th. We still hadn't slept. I mean, we were up all night. His victory speech was at like 2 a.m. in the convention center. And I called him up early. I said, congratulations, you did it, and honey, can you believe it? And we'd fought together every second. I was there for him in the lowest moments, right? When everybody else had walked away. And those are the moments that really build love and friendship and trust and character and everything else. And I said, listen, I've got no more plays to run in politics, meaning, for this. We've won. You won. We just won the Super Bowl. We won it all. You go make this country proud, and I'll go continue to run the company, and I'll make the company proud, and I'll make our family proud, right? I pretty much handle everything for our family outside of Washington, D.C., and so I'll make the family proud. You go make our country proud. And I'm not saying that I couldn't have a role in politics. I think I could. I understand the sentiment of this country. I've certainly gained a lot of notoriety. Hey, this book is the #1 book probably sold on Earth in the last 14 days, right? And that's because people love and adore who we are and what we've done, and probably respect it a lot too, both on this side of the pond and overseas. So never say never. At the same time, I've seen the best of politics. I've seen the worst of politics. I truly have. I've seen the worst of politics, and I've seen the worst of the media, and I've seen the worst of the weaponization of the legal system. And now you better make sure your kids are ready for it. You better make sure your family's ready, because they're coming. They're coming. There's no one that's off limit. There's no one that, and they better have gut, and they better have backbone, and they better have strength, and they better have tenacity, and they better be willing to fight. And we've changed the political landscape in this country, where I think you have a lot of great Republicans now who are going to go out there and absolutely give them hell long after my father, right? He's taught Republicans how to fight, and he's reshaped the political party. But listen, you never know. Never, ever, ever say no to anything. If you would have asked me whether or not I would have been a best-selling author, 5 years ago, I would have laughed at you. I'm never going to write a book. Until one day I got so pissed off that I had to write a book that was so raw and unvarnished and un-PC and truthful and real. So you never know what life's going to bring. I think I could do it if I chose to, but we'll just see what happens.
I was wondering, do you think that we'll see a Trump hotel in Israel, in Tel Aviv maybe, in Jerusalem?
I got to bite my tongue right now. So I got to bite my tongue. So the answer is absolutely.
Is there a scoop right here?
I'm going to bite my tongue a little bit, but here's what I'll tell you. I'll say absolutely. And it's something that I would be incredibly excited for. It's something I'd be honored to do. And you better believe, if maybe I should say when we come in, and you'll be the first one to know, I promise, because we adore you. When we come in, you'll be the first to know. But when we come in, we will do something that will be so iconic and so incredible, and we would make Israel so proud. And it would be I adore the people. Hey, listen, like 3/4 of my closest friends are Israeli. All right, so like I'm like a half member of the tribe, or 3/4. However you guys define what I am. But I mean, joking aside, I adore the country. I adore the people. I adore everything about Israel. Amazing. And by the way, the cities are great. The food's great. I mean, Tel Aviv. I mean, oh my God, what's become like one of the true technology capitals, real estate capitals. I mean, the real estate over there it's unbelievable. But anyway, we're in awe of your country. We love your country. We love your people very much. And it will happen, I promise you, and you'll be the first one to know.
And Israelis love you guys so much. We see that in the polls. And I think they just want to say thank you, I believe. Just want to say thank you. No one was able to solve it. And your father, the president, did. And they get to breathe again. Israelis get to breathe again. So thank you so much, Eric Trump, for this interview. Thank you so much for joining us. See you soon.
Can't wait. See you later. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining the Kraus Report and this special interview. If you like this episode, hit subscribe and join us.